As long as my mom was president, I was happy to be her vice president or president. Until she quit her job. She added me to all of her bank accounts to show how close we were when my dad died. After her husband died in 2022, Joni Lamb became president of Daystar TV. According to an internal Daystar document that Roy's Story got their hands on, her pay went up 140% to more than $1 million. The last pay review for 2023 in the paper shows that Joni Lamb made $436,750 in 2021 when Lucy Lamb's husband Marcus Lamb was in charge of the Christian TV network. The paper says that in 2022, her total pay went up to $1,048,200, which is more than 3 times the next highest paid worker at Daystar. The CFO was the second highest paid worker. Okay, everyone, welcome back for another deep dive with us. You may know that talk about something really cool today. We're going to look into how much money Daystar TV has. Okay. You may know that Daystar is a big Christian TV network. We're kind of going behind the scenes to see what's going on with their money, especially since their co-founder Marcus Lamb died. Without a doubt, that is an interesting subject. To be fair, the story is full of big pay raises, family problems that are worse than any soap show you've ever seen, and some strange financial stuff that makes you scratch your head. A lot of these questions about how to run a big nonprofit group come up in this setting.
Yes, that's right.
All of these family ties and faith views make it even more complicated. Yeah, it's crazy because after Marcus died, his wife Joni Lamb became president and got paid a lot more than anyone else. Oh, because of this, her pay went up by 140%, reaching over $1 million in 2022. That's a lot, man. Yes, it is. That person makes more than 3 times as much as this person at Daystar. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. Even more so since her pay was only $436,000 in 2021 when Marcus was still alive. Yeah, it wasn't just a small bump, it was a huge jump. Pay went up by a mountain. Yes, and there's a twist to this whole thing. Okay, what is that? Well, their son Jonathan Lamb kind of let the cat out of the bag when he said that his dad really wanted Joni to get their joint pay if he died. Oh, that's interesting. Of course, even if that's true, $1 million salary for running a nonprofit is still a lot of money. Yes, it does make me think of a lot of things. What I mean is, are they making good use of that money? I mean, the point of a nonprofit is to help people not make money. Yes, and people give money to charities because they believe in what they do. They do trust them. Right on. That's why seeing these big salaries, especially for family members, makes you wonder where all that money is going. It makes you think about whether the goal is still the most important thing. Yes, and the truth is that not only Joni is making a lot of money. Really? So this leaked Daystar paper showed that Joni, her children, and their wives made a total of almost $2 million in 2022. Wow, $2 million. Yes, and they're even going to raise those wages in 2023. There you have it. The whole family works for the group and gets paid pretty well. Yes, pretty much. That definitely makes it possible for things to get messy. Yes, of course. It makes you wonder, who's really getting all this money? Is it the family or the ministry? Yes, it is tough to decide what to think when everyone is so neat. Yes, and don't forget that I talked about Jonathan Lamb, the son who talked about the pay deal. Yes, what happened to him? He and his wife Susie were fired from Daystar at the end of last year. Sorry. Also, this split wasn't pretty. They've said in public that Joni is hiding some major accusations against her. What kind of claims are they? Specifically, claims that their daughter was sexually abused. That's really big. Yes, it does make the story a lot more complicated. It's not just about money anymore, okay? This is about wrongdoing and possible cover-ups. A lot. This is a huge blow to their reputation, especially for a group that is meant to be faith-based and moral. When all of this came out, the Roy's report, which was the source of the secret paper, got in touch with Daystar to ask for their opinion. You'd think they'd deal with the pay issue directly, wouldn't you? You might think so. They didn't do that, though. Instead, they went after Jonathan's reputation. So they tried to make him look bad. They pretty much told the report to hide the whole story. Someone will often say something like that to avoid answering tough questions. In a way, they're saying, don't believe him. He's just angry because he was fired. But in this case, trying to shut down the message only makes you look even more suspicious. People think they have something to hide. And the fact that things aren't clear is especially scary for nonprofits. Yes, because they count on people allowing them to run their business. It's right on. People who give money to a cause will be less likely to do so if they think the group is not being honest about how they use the money. Of course, there is a lot of trust in nonprofits. To be fair, Daystar did say something about the pay, even if it was a bit of a back and forth. What did they say? They said that none of the salaries are paid for by gifts. Then where does the money come from? They said that it comes from the money they make from TV and radio. That's pretty interesting. That's pretty much it. Other organizations that buy SMS give Daystar money. That's right. They sell slots to other agencies. Yes, and you got it. A lot of those organizations depend on donations. It looks like the money keeps going around and around. Yes, it is. You could compare it to the board game hopscotch. Gifts to Daystar may not go straight to pay, but gifts are where the money starts. Yes, and it makes you think, should Christians who give money worry about where it goes, even if it first goes to another ministry? That's a good question, and it does make things less clear. So, is this really any different from using gifts to pay salaries straight? This also makes it harder for Daystar to really answer to their fans. Yes, since they can say, oh, we're not directly using your money for this. But the system works like a web. There's no clear answer. Also, do you remember when Jonathan talked about that pay deal? He also said that he couldn't find Joni and Doug Weiss's pay in the payroll system. In other words, he couldn't see them. No way to get in at all. Very strange. What makes me wonder is why they wouldn't want him to see that. Indeed, Jonathan says that Doug began making 6 figures a year from Daystar as a consultant soon after he got married, which makes things even more interesting. Wow, a consultant. That's it. That definitely makes people wonder. Yes, it does. People who work for a nonprofit or with family members should have very clear rules about how to handle money. Yes, you don't want it to look like you're just helping your family out. Right on. It can make people not trust the group as much. There may be problems with money. There is trouble in the family, and there are some very serious accusations. That's a lot to understand. I want to know more. Yes, the situation is interesting, but a bit messy. It shows how hard it can be to run a big nonprofit, especially when faith and family are involved. Of course, it makes you wonder if anything would have happened if everything had been clear from the start. Yes, that is a great question. For example, what if Daystar had to fill out those 990 tax forms like all other nonprofits? That is a really interesting point because that little form can be a very useful tool for being open. There are some people who might not know that the 990 is a public record for nonprofits. They do this so everyone can see how their money is being spent and who is getting rich. They're saying that Daystar might have thought twice about those big pay raises if they had to be that open. When people know they're being watched, they're likely to be much more careful with their money. So it is possible. It's like if you can see everything, you won't try to hide anything. It does that, and donors can pick where they want their money to go. That way, they can check to see if the group is doing what they say they're doing with the money they give them. It's like being able to look inside a car before you buy it. You want to make sure that everything works well. Yes, and being open and honest can make people trust a business more. Being honest about your money shows that you have nothing to hide. That makes sense, but let's be honest. Not all nonprofits are great, right? There are definitely some that aren't very honest out there. Some bad apples will always be in every group, which is a shame. How do you know who to believe? That's why it's so important to look at those 990 forms, ask questions, and not be afraid to leave if something doesn't feel right. So you're saying that you shouldn't give your money to any group that says it's a nonprofit. Right on. Be a smart giver. You should be able to see where your money is going since it's yours. That makes sense. Also, since we're talking about knowing where the money is going, let's talk about Jonathan Lamb again. He was the son who kind of let everyone know about this. Okay. Some people might think he was up to no good since he was fired and all. Yes, that is a good thing to think about when someone is accusing you. It is important to see if they have any biases. That's right. He might just be trying to hurt his family. Possible, but what he's saying is still very important, even if he isn't saying it from a pure heart. Also, those very serious claims of sexual abuse must not be forgotten. They must be dealt with no matter what. Definitely, it's important to pay attention to those kinds of claims. Even though Daystar has rejected the claims, the fact that they were made at all raises concerns about the culture of the company. Yes, it does make you wonder if they really care about keeping people safe. Are there more stories we haven't heard yet? I find that question very difficult to answer, but it does show that faith-based groups need to be more accountable. So we've talked about the financial stuff, the family drama, and those really serious allegations. What does all this mean for Daystar, for Christian media overall? Well, for Daystar, it seems pretty clear that they have a trust problem. Yeah, big time. And fixing that won't be easy. They need to directly address all of these issues and show people that they're serious about being transparent. Just like the saying goes, actions speak louder than words. You, their funders, and everyone else need to see proof that they're really making changes. What about Christian culture as a whole? What does this show about them? I think this situation really shows that even faith-based groups can make mistakes, even big ones. That means even faith groups can have problems. It should be a wake-up call for everyone in Christian media to be more open and responsible. Yes, and not only to keep themselves safe, but also to keep the people who trust them safe. It's about making sure that people's donations are being used in the right way and that the mission is still the priority. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of heavy stuff. What can we do about it? Like, as individuals, can we make a difference? That's a great question. I think the most important thing we can do is be informed. Find out more, ask questions, and make groups answer for their actions. That being said, don't give money to a group just because they say they do good work. Really think about it. Right on. You can think of it as an investment. You need to be sure that your cash is well spent. What if we see something that doesn't look right? Should we not care about it? Certainly not. If you have any worries about a group, you should say something. So you could talk to other people, report it to a watchdog group, or even get in touch with the office. Right on. There is power in your words, and it can make a difference. We're not just trying to keep our own funds safe. We're trying to keep the whole Christian community safe. Okay. It's about standing up for the things we believe in. We've talked about a lot of things here, from the money issues to the family drama to the bigger picture for Christian media. It's a very complicated case. One thing is for sure, though, the story isn't over yet. This will have effects that last for a long time because there are still many questions that haven't been solved. We want to leave you with one last thought as we wrap up part 2 of our deep dive. Yes, this is something you should really think about as you keep watching Christian media. What would have happened if Daystar had to be as open as other nonprofits? Would you have done something different? This question really makes us think about how important it is for faith-based groups to be open and have leaders who act in an honest way. It also makes us think about what we can do to protect those ideals. Yes, it is a question that makes you think. Yes, what if Daystar had to follow the same rules of openness as other nonprofits? Would we even be talking about this now? It's just not possible to know for sure. Sure, things might have gone differently. Being honest is like having a safety net. In a way, it makes everyone honest and tougher to get away with bad things. Like, you'll be much more careful about what you do if you know everyone is watching. Right. It's not just about stopping bad things from happening. It's also about making donors feel good. That way, they can see how their money is being spent and choose if they still want to give money to the group. We've learned a lot about what's going on with Daystar. We've looked at the money, the family problems, and those very serious accusations. To be honest, I think it leaves us with more questions than solutions. Yes, it's clear that the story is difficult, but sometimes it's not always a bad thing to have more questions. I guess that just means there's more to find out. Okay. And it might be a good idea to keep asking these questions about all the big groups, not just Daystar.